Good afternoon and welcome to the first postgame show of 2025. Tennessee versus Syracuse earlier this afternoon. The Vols took down the Orange 45-26 in Atlanta. We are all very happy about it. Happy to have you guys along with us for this afternoon and ready to spout off some hot takes from the first game of the season. Jordan is feeling very nice about everything that happened this afternoon. As you can see, he's got the glasses on. He's feeling great. Got the hippie glasses on. Was it that kind of afternoon for the Vols, Jordan?
Well, I mean, the first half was really good. I liked what I seen from Tennessee. I mean, I think that their rushing attack hasn't missed a beat. I mean, of course, like not the same production as like Dylan Sampson had, but I mean, Star Thomas really excelled in this game. Got me really excited about his future. And then, like Joey Aguilar seemed very confident in the backfield, which I mean, I feel like helped out a lot with the offensive line because Tennessee didn't give up a single sack in the game. And I think a lot of that it's credited to Joey Aguilar being able to make decisions and everything. And of course, he wasn't always accurate. I mean, there were some overthrown screens that I think that he could have improved on and a couple of other little things. But I think, he ran the football well. He seemed to make the right decisions when to run the football. And I don't know, like that one pass that he had to, I forget who it was, but he was rolling out to the left, and then it seemed like he was about to run with the football, but then he dumped it off in the end zone. I thought that was a stellar play and arguably his best play of the game. But how have you felt about Tennessee?
Yeah, so far so good. At least on offense, I think. You look at what Tennessee did through the air. I was not expecting that at all from Tennessee offensively. I thought this would be a ground and pound game. It still very much was a ground and pound game for Tennessee, especially in that second half. I just pulled up the stats. They're almost symmetrical through the air and on the ground. Tennessee going for 247 through the air, 246 on the ground. So that's pretty impressive that they were able to get that similar and still good stuff through the air and on the ground on both fronts there, I would say, because Joey Aguilar, we just didn't have an idea of how this guy would look against a legitimate opponent. And sure enough, he goes out there and he throws a couple touchdown passes. And he was not entirely accurate over the course of the game, I didn't feel like. But I think the important thing that a lot of us were looking for that was missing from last season was his ability to just be confident in what it is he's doing. You just didn't see that from Nico over the course of last season. Making quick decisions, whether or not it's running the football or just taking a shot downfield to somebody as well, as we saw a couple of those over the course of the game. So I really like what I saw from Tennessee's offense in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the biggest surprise to me, I mean, outside of the offense is just the defense kind of like giving in towards or after the second half. I mean, I think the defense looked strong to begin with. Colton Hood, I mean, he had a dominant performance, I would say. He had that touchdown on the fumble recovery. He had a couple of pass breakups, I'm pretty sure. And he seemed active in most of the plays. And, like Arian Carter, he had that big play on defense too, where it seemed like he was going to fake the blitz, but then came back and then got the sack. But, after the second half, Tennessee seemingly was giving up a lot of rushing yards is one thing that I noticed from them. It seemed like Syracuse started breaking off 6-yard runs just routinely and, almost let Syracuse get back in the game. But I mean, of course, ultimately Tennessee sealed the deal. But I mean, it was a little worrisome there for a second with the defense. What was your thoughts with that?
Yeah, I don't exactly know how to feel about this team defensively. I think overall you had some concerns in the second half. I would agree with you there. I didn't think the tackling was spot on. But I did think that a part of the problem could be some of the injuries. You knew about the David Hobbs one going into the game, and you knew you wouldn't have him. But Jackson Moy going down on the first possession of the game is a real concern. He did not return to the game. His backup, Nathan Robinson, was hurt on a couple different instances. And, I wasn't expecting him to play much in this game at all, but I actually thought he did a pretty nice job. all things considered. So you lose him. Arion Carter was a guy that got hurt in this game as well. I believe Ty Redmond was down at one point in the game. We were trying to figure out who number 4 was the entire game because Jordan Thomas medically retired, but they did not take him off the roster. So there were actually 3 number 4s listed on the roster, which is a slight problem. But overall, I think this team did leave some to be desired on the defensive end. I agree with you there. But looking at what they had just with the turnovers over the course of the game, you lose that one fumble on the botched exchange down in the red zone. They get it right back with Colton Hood, who I thought probably played the best game of anybody on defense today. And then you had that early turnover in the second half with Jalen McMurray tipping the pass, kind of like a little bit of a volleyball assist there for Jeremiah Thielander. That sets up a touchdown. And if you don't score that touchdown early on in the second half, then I think we could be looking at a very different result to this game. So there were some positives and there were some negatives. And ultimately, Tennessee put up some good numbers on defense as well, just in the tackles for loss department. So you're still able to do that. But I do have some concerns about the tackling of this team, for one, and then 2, the health is another thing that I have some real concerns about going forward.
Yeah, I mean, those are like my 2 major concerns as well. I mean, the defensive tackle position was just getting put through the ringer in terms of injuries throughout the game. Like, as you mentioned, Robinson went down a couple of times, Moy injured at the start of the game. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. Tennessee has a lot of depth on their defensive line, but at what point does it become an issue if you have players going down each and every drive? It's slightly concerning, but I would say like the defensive backfield really seemed to have a good game against Syracuse. But linebackers, I mean, I feel like step up a little bit. I know Arion Carter did really well, but I mean, he was shaken up for most of the game. And, I think Tennessee tried to be cautious with him returning out there because he's the leader of Tennessee's defense. He's arguably one of the best players on the team. So got to keep him healthy, got to step up a little bit more at the linebacker unit. But I mean, like I said, the first half, I think the defense was spectacular. It's just a little concerning coming out of the second half that they kind of took their foot off the gas. But I mean, Tennessee ultimately got the job done. I'd just like to see a little bit more consistency from the defense, especially considering, Tennessee had a top 10 defense last season. And heading into this year, we were talking about the defense being the main catalyst to Tennessee's success, or at least that's what we thought. But the offense really outperformed the way that I thought that they would. And how about Star Thomas, man? Like, what a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I did not see that one coming. It sounded as if it would have been either Peyton Lewis or Deshaun Bishop there at the beginning of the season. It ended up being more of Star Thomas's game today than I think we were expecting. Both of the other guys had good plays over the course of the game. There was one play early where I think it was a 3rd and 9, and Deshaun Bishop had a catch on a screen pass, picked up the first down. So good stuff from him there. And then you look too at Star Thomas. I mean, multiple big gains over the course of this game. He running for, I think at one point, 8.1 yards per carry, which is obviously a very, very good number. Also had a receiving touchdown in this game too, which is something that this team is trying to figure out with running backs, just getting them involved in the passing game. Dylan Sampson was not overly involved in it last year, and therefore nobody else really was. So that could be a fun little facet to Tennessee's offense potentially over the course of the season. Okay, so let's go back over the keys that we set for this team on Monday. I had a list of 5 of them, I believe. My first key of the game ended up being one of the more important keys to this game, which was start fast, because you didn't know what Syracuse had going forward on offense. Talking with Jackson Holzer of Locked on Syracuse, he was fairly confident in what Syracuse could do offensively, despite not really knowing a ton about it. And sure enough, they did produce quite a bit on offense over the course of the game. They got that big bruiser of a running back in Yassine Willis. And Steve Angeli looked very comfortable over the course of the game, at least into the second quarter, I should say, because they did get down in a hole 17-0 there at the beginning of the game. But again, good start for Tennessee overall. And that was something that we thought would be important just because you didn't see it much last season. So you check the box there. I did not expect Tennessee to come out slinging it in this game. Therefore, they didn't really do the two keys that I had in mind, which were run to open up the pass and then get Joey comfortable before he graduates to some of those more difficult tasks. I thought Tennessee would come out and run the ball a few times and then start getting the receivers involved. That is not at all what happened. I think Tennessee had maybe one or two run plays on the first possession of the game. So really big surprise there from Tennessee offensively. Others, you did attack them on the just in the backfield over the course of the game with the tackles for loss and sacks that we saw, but unfortunately, Steve Angeli was able to dodge, and we'll come back to one particular instance here, but there were a couple fourth downs that they picked up that ultimately helped them score some touchdowns. And then lastly, hashtag control the controllables. You only had one turnover in this game. You didn't figure turnovers would be too much of a problem, and it was on a botched exchange, which I think that's not the most egregious thing you can do, right? Like you could have thrown an interception into tons of traffic. You could have had a pretty blatant fumble from, say, one of your running backs, but this one I think is a little bit more of an honest mistake. The penalties are still a little bit problematic. You had a few false starts today. The pass interferences, I don't know with some of them. There were a lot of borderline calls over the course of that game that I think the refs could have kept the flag in their pocket, but ultimately decided not to. There was an ineligible man downfield called on the last or second to last offensive possession for Tennessee, I should say. When they were about to score that touchdown, they completed the pass to Brazel, but they didn't have anything going past that, or no more penalties after that. Defensively, I think there was, other than the pass interferences, I don't think there was much going on. There was a illegal block below the waist called on, who was it, Ethan Davis, I think?
Yeah.
Right before they scored early in the second half. So overall, didn't hit a ton of the keys today, I don't think, but I just, part of the reason I planned that out the way I did was because I did not anticipate this high scoring of a game. I think the total going into the game was 50.5 in Vegas. They crushed it. 71 points is not at all what I was expecting. And different people were saying, lower game may favor Syracuse, or lower scoring game may favor Syracuse. I figured it would be somewhere in the middle. Like maybe you see somewhere in the upper 30s, lower 40s. 45-26 was not in the cards at all for me today.
Yeah, not for me either. Like I was shocked with how Syracuse did offensively. Like as you were mentioning, like I mean, we talked about it on Monday. Like Syracuse lost their top 3 receivers, their quarterback who broke several school records for them, and then their leading rusher as well. And then Syracuse still came in and like showed a pretty decent offensive performance considering that they lost the football game. I mean, Steve Angeli picked it up towards the end, but like Tennessee, I mean, they got the job done at the end. There were like some penalties that were a little frustrating, but like you said, I don't know if like some of them should have been called. And then I would argue towards the end, there could have been some more pass interference called on Syracuse that weren't there. So it was interesting, seeing the refs choose which plays to penalize and which ones not to. But I mean, I think Tennessee, the penalties that they did get, I mean, the block below the waist, you can't do that, especially when it was out of the play. I mean, Star Thomas is still gonna get that run even without the block. So that was unnecessary. But I mean, outside of that and a few other things, I feel like most of the penalties are left up for interpretation. So I wouldn't necessarily say that Tennessee had a penalty problem this game as opposed to like how they were like last season. I mean, I know it's still first game of the year, but that was a huge glaring issue with Tennessee in 2024. And I think they cleaned it up a little bit, but of course, like you want to have as little penalties as possible. And I think Tennessee will work at getting better at that. But um, yeah, I mean the injury thing, man, I still can't get over that situation because Tennessee's going to need to stay healthy throughout the year. I mean, especially in getting the SEC play, defensive line is going to be huge for Tennessee stopping. And here's the thing too, with Tennessee's defense, I was very impressed with how they were able to attack on offense or attack the offense. I mean, I think Tennessee got 5 sacks in the game, and it seemed like Angeli was pressured off and on throughout the entire game. So I think Tennessee did a good job of creating pressure, but once again, like you can't let these big runs happen. You can't let them march down the field, which seemingly was the case going into to the second half. But I mean, like ended up getting the job done towards the end. But yeah, there's some concerns there, but there's also some positives to look at with the Tennessee team.
Quotes beginning to trickle out of the press conference. Looks like they are very pleased with Joey Aguilar's performance. I was very pleased by it too. Might have been some inconsistency from time to time passing. 16 to 28 for 247 and 3 touchdowns. That's not bad. I mean, we've certainly seen worse from a couple quarterbacks here in recent years, which shall not be named. You can watch one of them at 10 p.m. tonight, though, Central Time, if you'd like to do so. But I just think there is, a mentality to Joey Aguilar that we just haven't seen from either of the last two. It was very, very sheltered football, I guess you could say, that they were playing with the previous two quarterbacks. So I think that's a big help. And you saw him hit on some big plays down the field. There was one to Mike Matthews earlier on in the game. Braylon Staley right before halftime. That was a huge shot that you just didn't see much of last season at all. I didn't feel like. 73-yard touchdown there at the end of the second half. Matthews had a 16-yard catch, only 2 catches for 29 yards. I think Chris Brazzell really stepped up in this game too. That's
sure.
a guy that was a little bit of a disappointment last season for Tennessee. He goes for 5 catches and 62 yards today, which you figured he would probably emerge as one of the alphas in the receiving room, and sure enough, he was. But you just needed to see more from him. You didn't know if it was a quarterback problem or if it was a him problem. If you don't have that ineligible man downfield call, he might be walking out with a little more yardage, another catch, and a touchdown at that. So I think all in all, good game from him on the offensive end. Good to see these receivers get involved. We thought the tight ends would be way more involved than they actually were. Obviously, Kittelman had the touchdown there at the end of the game, but only a couple catches for him, just 10 receiving yards. One pretty impressive catch there in the first quarter that ultimately led to a touchdown later on. And then, of course, you had the game sealer there at the end. Ethan Davis had that one target on the screen pass, but ultimately that did not work out for him. Probably best to drop that ball anyway, just because I think there were 2 or 3 guys bearing down on him over that or in that backfield when that happened. So, overall, I think it was a good outing for this wide receiver room. Let's see how this team does against a legit defense in Georgia here in a couple weeks. But you look good against a Power 4 team in your first game of the season offensively, and I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about it earlier today. Like, when's the last time that we've seen a Tennessee quarterback do good against a Power 4 program? Because the quarterback that we're not going to mention, he seemed to struggle a little bit last season against bigger teams. And then here we got Joey Aguilar, his debut as Tennessee's quarterback, throwing for 247. which is numbers that we're not familiar with at Tennessee, or at least as of late. So, I mean, it was good to see him step it up. And you mentioned Brazel too. I was impressed with him as well. I mean, because I was a little bit hard on him last season. I thought that he was going to be a better player than he ended up being. But I mean, he's the receiver with like the most experience returning on this team. So you would hope that he would step it up. And he sure did. I mean, I think there was a couple drops that I remember from time to time. But I mean, overall, he looked pretty good. And I would say like Tennessee's offense like looked pretty good for the most part. I think my like biggest concern would with the offense would be just like the overthrowing on the screen passes, which I noticed a little bit. Like sometimes it would be a couple feet over the receiver's head and it had to jump up and catch it. Not necessarily that they were completely inaccurate, because they were where they needed to be is just a little bit too high. So I hope that's something Tennessee can work on. And I would like to see Tennessee be able to complete more passes down the middle of the field. Because Tennessee surely didn't have that last season. I feel like we didn't see too much of it from today. But Tennessee offensively seems to be heading in the right direction. Just hoping that the defense will pick it up as well, or at least be able to close it out. Because, like I said, in the first half, looked great. Second half, different story.
Yeah, so that receiver room, I think, is much improved. You were right about Brazel, though. He had one drop that I think really could have gone for a touchdown today. I think that was um, a pretty disappointing moment in the game. You had a couple drops like that, but in fairness, I think Joey Aguilar does have to work on some accuracy. Just because you had some overthrows, couple throws behind. I know there was one to Mike Matthews in the first quarter that was a little bit behind. So that is something to keep an eye on as well. But overall, I like what I'm seeing on the offense. It's a good start. And you did have some wrinkles today too that you were not expecting. Uh, David Sanders did not play today up front. Um, doesn't sound like he's going to be out for too long. But I think the offense did a nice job adjusting today. You slide some guys over. You get Sam Pendleton playing center. You get Jesse Perry out there. You knew he was going to be a factor this year, but he was a big factor in this game. And then you put Sham Umarov in guard. He made his first career start today. And then, of course, you had your other two starters, Moy and Hurd. But overall, the offensive line did a very good job despite having those wrinkles thrown in there. I think there was, one TFL that they gave up sometime in the third quarter, maybe early fourth. But after that, I mean, you're outside of that, you really didn't see any big gaffes from this offensive line. So, good performance from them today, despite everything that was thrown at them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the offensive line did stellar. I mean, at least compared to last season, which was one of my biggest concerns coming into the year, was how the offensive line was going to perform. I mean, we talked about potential chemistry issues that could arise with the team heading into the season, but I think the offensive line played pretty well. And especially with losing David Sanders like before the game started, I mean, he's highly touted recruit. I mean, I've seen him on like freshman All-American watch list by some media companies. But I mean, Tennessee, like you said, like may have only had one, maybe a couple tackles for loss on offense. Besides that, they were moving the ball downfield the entire time. And I felt like the offensive line gave Joey Aguilar enough time to make decisions and just overall played pretty well. I will say, like Pendleton, who I was high on coming into the season, I know center isn't his traditional position, but I mean, he had to today with Tennessee. And I don't know, like there's a couple of the snap issues that we talked about. There was that one towards the end. But I mean, I don't want to like hold him to the fire too much so, because like I said, it's not his primary position, but I'm hoping that he can pick that up just in case he has to play center more throughout the season.
Yeah. Yeah. I think uh, what it sounds like is he can play center. But we just don't know who it'll be. We thought it was going to be Satterwhite before the season, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case now. Um, but again, all in all, I think the offensive line looked good today, and it should only look better with David Sanders returning to play before too long. So they look good today. I think defensively, this team does have some things to work on. I was not expecting too much of a fight from Syracuse offensively. I guess uh, the receiving game for Syracuse ended up being much better than I thought. Steve Angeli, I think in total threw for 274 yards, which is a pretty nice day. Uh, did have the one interception, although that was a little bit of an anomaly. You have the tip situation. I don't really know how much you put that on him, as opposed to Jalen McMurray just going out and making a great play. Uh, and then run defense as well. Only 102 rush yards given up, which obviously sacks are going to help with some of that. But yeah, seeing Willis, the running back, goes for 91 and 3 touchdowns in this game. So you're not going to see big bruisers like that every single game, but it is a little bit of a concern just today. But again, it may all relate to the health of some of these guys, just because you've got several defensive linemen that are injured, like interior defensive linemen in particular, is what you worry about. And then one or two guys in the second level of defense as well. Obviously, Carter a little banged up today. Jermon McCoy not going to play for a little bit, although I do think Tennessee's secondary, uh, just different members of the secondary, guys like Jalen McMurray and Colton Hood ultimately stepped up and made big plays today. Ricky Gibson was a guy that I did not see in the game much. He did leave at one point in the game with some injury. I think he was like grabbing his arm or something. So that's not great news for Tennessee. There was one other guy that I'm blanking on. Oh, we got to talk about Boo Carter.
Yes.
We got to have a serious conversation about Boo Carter. He was not starting today for Tennessee, and I think it became clear over the course of this game why he was not starting for Tennessee. So there were 2 4th-down plays in which I think Tennessee could have easily gotten a stop, both of which involved Boo Carter, and Syracuse picked up the first down on both plays. There was a 4th and 10 in the first half. Boo Carter is covering Jonte Cook. He takes his eyes off Jonte Cook for a split second. He slips behind him, makes the catch, picks up the first down. If Boo just sticks with him and doesn't try to go for the ball, then you're looking at a different result there. That's play number 1. Play number 2, and this could have led to a much smoother victory for Tennessee had he made the play here. I think it was like a 4th and 1 or 2 on Tennessee's side of the field. Boo Carter has Steve Angeli wrapped up in the backfield, and he just let him slip and complete a pass to a tight end on the play for 4th and short. Tennessee should not have given up the first down on that play, and yet he just let it slip. So I think that is the guy that is going to receive the most criticism on this team on the defensive end. I hate that this happened, but this is Boo brought this on himself, man. You get rusty like this over the summer, and you go hang out in California with Nico instead of being with the team for all the workouts and whatnot, and that's your problem, man. You've got to get that fixed, and you got to be a little bit more mature than that, or else stuff like this is going to happen to you. You are not going to be ready to play in your first game, and sure enough, we saw that. A couple of just horrible mistakes from him in this game, and again, there's a reason why he was not playing punt returner today, because they just didn't feel like he'd be ready to, and I think his offensive privileges have probably been taken for the season, if I had to guess, because we saw who was it? Dwayne Morris, the running back, playing punt returner, and then Braylon Staley was returning later in the game. So that's a big loss for Tennessee potentially at punt returner if they don't allow him to get back there and make those plays.
Yeah, I mean, Boo Carter was a disappointment today, I feel like, to say the least. And I mean, I feel like all the criticism with him is fair too, considering how the offseason went. Like, as you mentioned, like going off to California, missing several team practices and meetings and everything like that. I mean, and he had talks in the offseason before all of that drama even started. He had talks about wanting to play offense at Tennessee, and that was one of the things that led to him staying. And then here we are today. He's not got a single rep on offense, which I think's fair. I mean, considering everything that he went through, I mean, I feel like he probably has lost his offensive privileges. I mean, especially seeing how Tennessee's receivers played relatively well today too. I mean, it's just a disappointment that he it seems like at times that he might just be wanting to make a big play rather than making the smart play, like he did with like some of the fourth down situations. I'm just hoping that he can like pick it up. Maybe he's lost some confidence since everything's happened during the offseason. I know he had to win trust back with his teammates, so maybe that plays a factor into it. But I mean, I think Tennessee's secondary stepped up pretty big considering there's no Jermod McCoy, and Boo Carter kind of wasn't even not really like having his best performance in the game. I thought Tennessee's defensive backs like stepped up in his absence, and which I think is a really good sign. And here's another thing too, credit to Tennessee. I mean, I know that the second half wasn't the greatest, but I mean, we mentioned it. Arian Carter was banged up. There's no Jermod McCoy. Boo Carter still trying to integrate himself back into the team. I mean, there was a few question marks there, and not even to mention David Sanders being out too. I mean, so Tennessee's faced some injury problems and everything heading into this game, and they still ended up getting the victory against a Power Four program, and a program that won 10 games last year, mind you. So I mean, I think there's a lot to like. But there's a lot to improve on as well. And I really hope that Boo Carter can step it up later in the season, because I mean, he could be a huge difference maker for Tennessee if their secondary is already good and he's able to step up and you get McCoy back there. I mean, Tennessee could have arguably the best defensive backfield in the country.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Tennessee's DBs, despite having some issues tackling later in the second half today, they still made their fair share of good plays. Obviously, Colton Hood early in the game with a touchdown. I felt like he was draped over their receivers over the course of the game for a lot of the game.
Oh, yeah.
So good stuff from Colton Hood today. Jalen McMurray, we already mentioned it, made a great play in the game, deflecting that pass. He also, I believe, had a sack as well at some point. I forget when, but you had guys make individual plays. It's just a matter of it not being so sporadic after a while. You need to see it more consistently. But I do think that we should reserve some judgment to in order to assess this defense. We should wait until this team gets fully healthy, and nobody's ever going to be fully healthy, but it's just a little bit more likely that you get a better product when you have those guys like Jermon McCoy and Jackson Moy in there more consistently. Because I noticed they were trotting some guys out that we were not necessarily expecting to see. I think Edward Spillman had a pretty nice game today for Tennessee, made a few big plays there. But Ben Bolton was out there for Tennessee at linebacker. Like that guy was a walk-on at one point. Actually, I think he was either supposed to go to NBA or something like that, and then they moved to Memphis, so he's an MUS guy. But he got to play a little bit today for Tennessee. Not a guy I was expecting to see at all. There were a lot of different personnel out there that I was not expecting. I'm still trying to figure out who number 3 is on offense for Tennessee. I think it was probably Jack Van Dorselaer at tight end. It's either him or Cole Harrison, had to have been. But you had those guys out there. Dwayne Morris, I was not expecting to get reps at running back. As a matter of fact, I don't think it was a good idea to put him in at the time in which they put him in. So I don't anticipate them doing that past the ETSU game, because I think Josh Heupel knows a little bit more about what he's got at some positions after today, especially at running back. I think Star Thomas has proven that he and probably Deshaun Bishop should get the most reps there. Peyton Lewis did look good, I thought, but I think you're going to have to give it to those two guys for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tennessee's running backs was probably the best thing on offense for this game. I mean, I was really impressed with all 3 of the guys. I mean, Peyton Lewis, I've been a little bit critical on before, I mean, I know the stats don't show it. I mean, he had 38 yards and a touchdown, but I mean, I still think that he played much better than he did last season, or at least to start off. And then Bishop played well too. I mean, I thought that he was going to be Tennessee's best running back heading into the season, but I mean, who knows now with how great Star Thomas was playing. I mean, it is good to see Tennessee's running back group be able to regroup, considering that they lost Dylan Sampson and everything. But I feel like a lot of Tennessee fans, I don't think too many of them were concerned with Tennessee's running game, because that's been like Josh Heupel's like MO. Like a lot of times, it's there's a lot of focus around his quarterbacks and everything, but I mean, he's steadily had good running backs since he's been at Tennessee, whether it's been Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, Dylan Sampson, now Star Thomas. Um, so I think Tennessee's pretty good there. And honestly, they might have more depth at running back than they do at any other position on offense. But I was a little shocked seeing Morris play as well, especially considering that Tennessee is yet to get a running back in recruiting this year, too. I mean, with three good guys and Tennessee not having a recruit in this upcoming class, I mean, you could maybe consider redshirting him. But then again, like Boo Carter, like kind of a little bit of a liability right now. So the coaching staff doesn't trust him to return punts, and Dwayne Morris has filled that role for him. But I was shocked to see him get reps at running back. I almost wish that Boo Carter can get reintegrated in this team, become the punt returner, and then let Morris just sit for a while. Just let him sit and hopefully redshirt and keep him around a little bit longer. Because, like I said, I mean, Tennessee's going to have to start looking for some more running backs here soon.
Yeah, I got to keep it real. After today, it's not looking good. We'll see if that changes over the course of the season. I just don't know how Boo Carter is in a Tennessee uniform in 2026. I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but like, does Tennessee even want Boo Carter at this situation? I mean, if he can't step up and live up to the potential, because he had a lot of potential coming in. I mean, his freshman campaign, I mean, he wasn't like otherworldly, but I mean, you saw flashes of him being a very dynamic player on the defense. So I mean, I feel like he's got to step it up. I mean, if not, then like, why would Tennessee be paying him however much? I'm not sure what they're paying him, but I'm sure he's one of the higher paid players on the team. And if he's not putting up the production, then why keep him there? Especially if he'd be toxic to the locker room. I mean, the last thing you need is for that to become an issue. And if that ends up being the case, if he continues to be a problem off the field and not have the production to show for it, then I mean, I'm not upset with Tennessee getting rid of Boo Carter, because like Josh Heupel said, I don't think there's one player that means more than the team. And I think that stretches to Boo Carter as well.
Yeah, it's just like these guys that keep jumping around from school to school. I just don't know how that is going to sit in the NFL. You can hold out for a trade or whatnot, but if you're not going to play that well in college, then you're not going to end up, a starter in some of these places. Like I look at some of these places, like Wake Forest was starting Robbie Ashford at quarterback last night. He couldn't make it at Auburn because he got beat out by Peyton Thorne, so he transferred to South Carolina. There was a reason he didn't beat out Lenora Sellers last year, and now they're starting him at quarterback at Wake Forest. Like, did you really expect him to be good? And I didn't even mention he transferred in from Oregon to Auburn. So it's not as if like some of these dudes that are like second or third year or third time transfers are going to be guys that you should expect to do well for their team. I just don't see it with a lot of them. So um and I'm very afraid that Boo Carter is going to become one of those guys for him, just because, again, I see the potential. He's not worth however many $1,000,000 just yet. He certainly was not worth that today. I didn't feel like. So overall, very disappointed in what that has led to seemingly on offense. We'll see if that can change, or defense, I should say. We'll see if that can change uh, the rest of the season. But yeah, I don't like what I'm seeing from Boo Carter right now at all. And that was a guy that was supposed to be a strength on this team, supposed to be an all SEC guy preseason. And you've got this going on in week one. So, again, very, very disappointing stuff. Let's do a quick look around across the SEC, I've got this game on between Bama and Florida State. And I got to tell you what, guys, Florida State is not bad. They're up 17-7 on Alabama
Really?
with 3:45 remaining in the second quarter. Maybe Florida State is turning a corner again this year. Maybe Mike Norvell is trying to find his way off the hot seat, but this has not gone according to plan for Alabama. This is shocking to say the least. And you got a couple other finals in SEC play too today. Ohio State taking down Texas. We didn't get to watch any of that game, as you can imagine, but it sounds as if Arch Manning was not good for Texas. I pulled up the box score. Ohio State only had like 200 yards of offense in that game. They won 14-7 against Texas, and they just played defense. And I think it was very much a bend don't break thing, because I think Texas had a few different opportunities to score, and I think the only touchdown they had in that game was a long pass. So I don't know what that's all about for Texas. I'm hearing all kinds of people lamenting over Sark's play calling. So not a good start for a team that many people think could win the conference. And I'm one of the people that think there is not an impossibility that they go 8-4 this season. We'll see if Florida, Georgia, and Oklahoma are all that, but those games are not being played in Austin this year. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind. Other games that have gone final, Mississippi State actually turned it on in the second half against Southern Miss, ended up with a 34-17 win, was tied at 10 early. That game down in Hattiesburg, so a road win for Mississippi State. Does that make you somewhat fearful of them, Jordan? Just that they may be a more tough game than you think. I think we're going to learn more with the Arizona State game next week, but I was certainly not expecting them to handle Southern Miss like that.
Yeah, I will say, like you said, we'll learn more with Arizona State. I think that's going to be a good test to see how Mississippi State can play this season. But I mean, the way that they were able to overcome adversity, because it was close there with Southern Miss for a second, and then coming back and winning by as much as they did. I mean, yeah, it is a little concerning. I mean, especially considering Josh Heupel's only had one winning season on the road, and that was in 2022 with Hendon Hooker. I mean, besides that, Tennessee pretty much always wins their games at Neyland, but then it might be up in the air when they travel to away games. And I know that Mississippi State, I mean, I've not been to a game, but I heard that it's an underrated atmosphere as far as the SEC goes. I'm not ready to panic too much yet. I mean, considering it's the beginning of the season, but I mean, I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes on Mississippi State, because I think that they are a potential team that Tennessee could lose to this season outside of the big three. I mean, maybe Oklahoma up there too, but I'd like to think that Josh Heupel will get the job done against his alma mater. But yeah, I mean, slight concerns, but I'm not ready to panic yet when Mississippi State.
Yeah, no, and again, there's two other games that we could see that are potentially difficult for them with Arizona State, and then we'll see with Northern Illinois. They did beat Notre Dame last year, so that's the only reason I'm saying that. But you look at Southern Miss, it's another team that we don't know if they're actually that good, because they did bring down the coach from Marshall last year, and he brought down a lot of his players, but it's one of those things where they still got to kind of gel. So maybe that's a part of it for them. That's why they couldn't, keep it going in the second half. But again, we shall see if that is a tough game here soon. Other game that has gone final, Kentucky defeated Toledo 24-16 today. Zach Calzada, 10 of 23 for 85 yards and an interception. Not a good look, man. I don't know what Kentucky is doing with this whole find a quarterback out of the transfer portal as a one-year loaner thing. I guess Tennessee's doing it this year, but that was somewhat out of necessity. It's like they can't find a good quarterback in any of these recruiting classes and ride with him, because he's in what, like his 6th or 7th year of college football, because he was the guy that beat Alabama 4 years ago in College Station, and then he transferred to Auburn, did not make it on the field at Auburn, and then just balled out at Incarnate Word. and that's incarnate word. You're not playing against SEC level programs for the most part when you're there. So we knew Toledo could stay in that game, and they very much did. Um, Kentucky holding on for the win, but I don't think that is a very reassuring win for Kentucky fans.
No, that's a rough start to say the least, but I don't think many people had high expectations on Kentucky heading into this year anyways. But I mean, it is kind of funny that they've kind of had like the band of misfit quarterbacks come in and end up
And they've
becoming
gotten
their
worse and
starter.
worse every year. That's the crazy part. Is Will Levis was actually a good start, and then he got worse the next year. They thought Devin Leary could be pretty good. He ends up being very disappointing. They got Brock Vandegrift. I don't really know what they were expecting with Vandegrift, other than that he was a 5-star at one point, and then he just fell off for them hard. They had that Gavin Wimsatt guy who transferred in from uh, Rutgers, who I believe is at Jacksonville State now. I was never a fan of him in that offense. I did not think he was good at all. Um, again, the transition from FCS to SEC ball is going to be tricky for Zach Calzada, I think. So, again, you're right about the misfit quarterbacks. It makes no sense, man.
And here's the thing too with Kentucky, it's like it makes sense for some of these smaller schools like UTEP or like Northern Illinois, for example. It makes sense for them to try to get one of these like former highly touted quarterbacks onto their roster because what is there to lose? I mean, you're already behind the 8 ball because you play in a lesser conference, but Kentucky, come on now. You're in the SEC. Like, have some more respect for yourself. Try to get out and recruit and get you a good quarterback instead of getting ones that shoulda, woulda, coulda been. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but of course, I love to see it as a Tennessee fan. I love to see Kentucky struggle a little bit, and I'm getting excited. I did not know about the Florida State Alabama game. I did not know that they were ahead until you brought that up. Now I'm carefully monitoring the game.
Hey, it is pouring down rain in Tallahassee right now. It was pouring the last time Alabama played in the state of Florida, and they lost that game to Michigan. They had like 4 fumbles in that game at the beginning. Um, will be interesting to see how Ty Simpson does with a slick ball. Going to try to avoid Freudian slips here, but yeah, it's pouring down rain in Tallahassee, man. Did not expect this from Florida State today. They said the weather could be a factor. Evidently, it is. Uh, Speaking of former Vols, just saw Elijah Herring in the game for Florida State. So we'll see if they can hold on for this win. That'd be quite the turnaround to go from almost making a CFP to 2-10 to beating Alabama the first game of the season. That'd be a shocker. And Booger McFarland's just smiling on the set right now. It's like he knows he's planning a sweet revenge. He's wearing a Kentucky blue suit, by the way. Um, he is going to keep all the receipts if they end up getting a win today. Outside of Alabama, right now you've got 2 games in the SEC. Georgia ahead by 3 touchdowns on Marshall. Marshall not very good. They've got a whole new team pretty much. That game is late in the half. Georgia just across the 50. You got Arkansas leading Alabama A&M early second quarter, 17-7 the score in that game. That's a future opponent of Tennessee, of course. Let's see. Taylon Green, pretty nice looking 9 of 12 for 133 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not putting any stock in a win over Alabama A&M, though. I got to be completely honest. If they get that done.
Yeah, and speaking of Alabama A&M, I'm pretty sure that's my boy Robert Mathis's alma mater.
Oh yeah, it is Robert Mathis's alma mater.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, like it's a little bit exciting, like seeing like some of these games going on. I mean, Kentucky struggling there. We're talking about the Florida State Alabama game. I mean, it definitely boosts my confidence with these future matchups coming this season. And I spoke before the season even started. I mean, we'll see how things go. That I think Tennessee had a potential to upset Alabama this year, if you would consider it to be an upset. And I'm liking my chances right now seeing this Florida State game. I mean, who knows how good Florida State's going to end up being, but I mean, I feel like it's got to be reassuring, right? That like some of these teams that Tennessee's going to have to play this season are struggling to start off. Tucker, I think you're muted.
How did I get muted there?
Yeah, I don't know. I was wondering where the sound went for a second, then I saw that little dash through there.
My apologies. Got muted there for a second. I was talking about post-game quotes here. Colton Hood said he'd been playing baseball since he was 6 years old, so he said it was like a routine grounder there. Sorry, I'm talking now. You can hear me. My audio levels are good. I
Yeah,
promise you.
everything's working all good.
Also, Joey Aguilar said rat poison in the press conference at some point, so that's very reassuring that your quarterback is motivated to go out and prove people wrong. I will be at the game next week. We actually won't have a post game show, but it's going to be fun to watch him. See if he can unlock another gear next week. Maybe go for 300 plus yards and a few more touchdowns. And then also too will be fun to watch Jake Merklinger. Hopefully get some playing time as well, and then George McIntyre. But you like a motivated quarterback, and you like a guy that's motivated, but also kind of chill too. And I kind of get that vibe from Joey Aguilar. He's got the California kid thing going on to him without the obnoxious family members as we came accustomed to.
Yeah, and I was actually talking about his personality recently to my girlfriend, like showing her some clips of his press conference. She probably didn't really care too much, but I was like, "Hey, look how confident our quarterback seems like when he's talking to the media and everything." Like, I've liked everything I've seen from Aguilar. Like, very laid back guy, but he seems to actually like genuinely care too, because we had a quarterback that seemed to be pretty chill last season, but he didn't seem to have that it factor as much when it came to being a leader, whereas I think Joey Aguilar does have that, but he's not like a tyrant type leader. He's not like a Nick Saban or like Tom Brady, like demanding greatness from you, but he just seems like a pretty chill quarterback that you could just go to and like have food with. Like I've heard that he's done a lot in the offseason. Like he'd just hit up some of the players and be like, you want to grab something to eat and just hang out. I feel like he's done a good job so far. I mean, not only with this play on the field, but just showing that he could be a good leader for Tennessee, which is something that I feel like they've missed a little bit. I mean, like Dylan Sampson was the leader statistically on the team last season, but I don't know how much of a vocal leader that he was.
Oh, he was vocal.
He
Don't
was.
worry, he was a vocal leader, but you needed that.
Yeah, but you want to get that from your quarterback too. And you know what? I have good thoughts on Joey Aguilar with the season if he can stay healthy, because I think we forgot to mention he was apparently down at one point with a apparent hip injury or something like that.
Hip injury is what it sounded like, but he went right back into the game.
Yeah, so I mean, like hopefully, I mean, he went back in the game. That's good. Hopefully he can stay healthy. I mean, Tennessee does have like talented quarterbacks in the backups, but who knows how they're going to be at the collegiate level. But yeah, so far Joey Aguilar's impressed me a lot, and I hope that he continues his success throughout the season. And like you said, next week might be a good test to see him really shredded out there and see what his potential truly is. I mean, I'm imagine he's going to be very confident going in the game, and like you said, maybe we can see Merklinger, maybe he'll step up too, because Tennessee will need a backup probably at some point to step up. I mean, you got to assume an injury happened at some point, even if it's only for like one drive. And it'd be good to know that Tennessee's in good hands, not throwing picks like immediately when the backup came in like they did last season.
Yeah, well, one of the guys that's behind him is going to have to take on the starting role next season. So, again, would be good for reassurance. I feel like I've used that word more than I have at any other point during a show. But yeah, you want that from your quarterbacks, just to get that game experience, and he'll hopefully get some next week, barring another Austin P type situation. Alabama and Florida State have just gone to the half. Florida State a 17-7 lead, so it could be a big surprise in store there. Haven't seen too many other big surprises today in college football. Of course, we still have a long day for that to change. Noon window is very underrated, though, and of course, in Tennessee's case, no surprise is kind of a good thing, at least to start today. The only team that's gone down so far is Texas, that was ranked. Again, not overly surprising that happened, just because that game was in Ohio Stadium. You had the whole Corso thing. It was like Ohio State can't lose that game, right? So no, you had that going on, but for Tennessee though, I think just to close out the show, a good day overall. I think you always leave the first game thinking that you have some things to work on in weeks to come, and thankfully Tennessee has a game next week where it can hopefully work out some of those kinks against ETSU before it gets ready for Georgia. And we won't really know a ton about Georgia going into that game, if we're being honest, just because you've got Marshall and Tennessee Tech between now and then for Georgia. And like I told you guys, Marshall is not a team that I anticipate having a very good year in the Sun Belt. And of course, Tennessee Tech is an FCS team. So this will be Georgia's first big game, which I think is something that could help Tennessee out, having played a team like Syracuse, even if Syracuse doesn't go on to have a stellar year. Of course, you hope every win that you get ages like fine wine. This one we'll see. Syracuse, as I was talking with Jackson Holzer of Locked on Syracuse earlier in the week, they got a very difficult schedule. I mean, name just about any good ACC team: SMU, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Miami. They're all on the road in those places, and then they're at Notre Dame as well too. So Notre Dame and Tennessee both out of conference for Syracuse this year, which is pretty impressive. UConn at home is also no slouch either. Trying to think, there was one more ACC team that came to mind that they have to go to this year, but I'm blanking on it now. But overall, it's going to be a tough slog for Syracuse. But good for Tennessee to get the win today, though, because you feel better about this team potentially winning 8 or 9 games, and maybe having a fringe shot at the college football playoffs, as opposed to being a 6 or 7 win team that was ultimately not too disappointing, but would be looked at as disappointing, I think, just given the schedule and what we know about the schedule. Had you lost today, and again, winning games like this does open up a door to potentially do more later in the year, just like it did with Syracuse in 1998, or Pittsburgh in 2022 was another game that opened up a lot of doors for Tennessee. So we'll see what happens with the result from today's game and how it affects the season in the future. But overall, I'm pretty optimistic about what I saw today.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, my confidence rose even more watching this game today, and I'm excited to see how the future of the season goes for Tennessee. I'm really hoping next week we can get to see some more of the players that we didn't get to see play today, get them some more experience. And I think one of the biggest things next week, because I mean, presumably Tennessee wins comfortably, just make sure that everyone's healthy. Like, use this week to get Arian Carter fresh, get him back in, and maybe not play him too much next week unless he's needs to be. And then, like, hopefully the rehab process of McCoy continues to go well, so Tennessee can get him back out on the field. But I like that Tennessee's going to have an easier opponent next week to prepare for Georgia a little bit. So Tennessee's got time to get healthy and everything. And who knows? I mean, like you said, we don't know exactly like how good or not good Georgia's going to be this year. And I'll say it's good to see the Georgia game earlier in the season, whereas like recently it seems like they've been like November games. But I know around the time when we first started watching Tennessee play football, back when there was the East and West and the SEC, Tennessee played Georgia like the 3rd or 4th game of the year a lot of the time. So, I mean, it's good to see that it's earlier in the year, because I think that favors Tennessee. And to use a quote from the old ball coach back in the day, I know not every Tennessee fan is huge fans of him, but he had a quote one time. He's like, I always love playing Georgia as the third week of the year, because you can always account on a couple of their players being arrested, which is an all-time classic quote.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think this may be the earliest Tennessee's played them in a long time.
Hmm.
I'd have to do some research to find out when specifically the last time they played Georgia this early was. Like the only time I can remember them playing Georgia before the month of October, I think, or at least before the last weekend of September, would have been, I think, that year where Justin Worley was the quarterback and eventually got benched for Josh Dobbs, where they lost that game in Athens. It was a great game, but they ended up losing, I think, like 35-32. That was a couple weeks actually before the dreaded 10-9 game between Tennessee and Florida in Knoxville. Um, but they ended up moving that game back for a while. But I do think just with some of the uncertainty with this Georgia team, what the future actually holds for them, that could be very helpful here in the future.
Yeah, and if Alabama's going to be down, if Alabama loses to Florida State and Georgia ends up underperforming, I mean, who's really to stop Tennessee this season? If we're being honest.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with Alabama in this game. Um, Florida will have to go through some difficult games, as we all know, before Tennessee gets there. They play Long Island this week, so unless DJ Lagway just puts out a disaster class performance, I don't think you have much to worry about in that game. But or at least if you're a Florida fan, you don't have much to worry about. But that's one that's a team that could potentially come limping into that game. Would be again crazy if CFP implications were on the line for Tennessee and they go down and lose that game in the swamp. It'd be the ultimate deflator. I mean, could potentially be more traumatizing than South Carolina in 2022,
Mm.
if we're being honest. But overall, great win today. Jordan, is there anything that we did not hit on from today's game that caught your eye before we go?
Well, we did mention Aguilar's injury there at one point. Not really any more I can think about the game. I mean, I'm excited to see how the rest of the season goes. I mean, I feel like what we got today from Tennessee is got to be reassuring for the future. You know, the defense just needs to pick it up a little bit in the second half, but I think the running backs looked great. I think that the receivers look like they've taken a step up from last season. Joey Aguilar really is the guy, and should be Tennessee's starter. It's good to have like a lot of our questions answered. And I'm confident in Tennessee's offense now, especially the offensive line. I think offensive line may be the thing that I'm most proud of besides the running back group for Tennessee's offense. Just hopefully, you know, the linebackers can be good, defensive backs stay healthy, and like especially defensive line, like can't be losing three guys a game, especially heading into Georgia here in a couple of weeks. But overall, I'm very impressed with Tennessee. And I'm just glad they got the victory. I'm like I said, I'll keep saying it again. I'm just so excited that the season's here, and I'm excited to see how everything turns out because I think Tennessee's got a good chance to go far this season as long as, you know, everyone stays healthy and does everything that they need to right and correct mistakes. I think Tennessee could be a borderline college football playoff contender this season.
Two more notes from me. I did see that the 5 sacks Tennessee had in today's game was more than any of that they had all of last season, which is kind of impressive. I did not think that would be the case after having watched this game today, but there were some positive takeaways on the defense. I think our biggest takeaway is get healthy, and then we'll talk again after Georgia. Offensively, there is room to grow, absolutely. And you only put up 38 of the 45 points today on offense, but Josh Heupel still has not scored less than 34 points against an ACC opponent in a headliner non-conference game. I know they only scored 31 against Clemson in the bowl, but those early season non-conference games, he has been very, very good against them offensively. You had the 234s against Pittsburgh, 49 against Virginia in 2023, 51 last season against NC State. Slight step back with the 45 today, but I think overall you appreciate the effort from Tennessee.
Yeah, and especially considering like there was so much worry about the offense coming into the season because of everything that Tennessee lost, but I mean they still put up 45. So I mean, and scored very quickly to start the game. We mentioned that earlier in the show. Like haven't really seen that from Tennessee since Hendon Hooker was there. So it's good to see a little bit of Tennessee's dynamic offense come back more. And like I said, I got high hopes for Tennessee this season, and I'm excited to see how everything goes.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for us on the Syracuse Tennessee postgame show here on the Voice of College Football Network. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in after the game finished. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe to Tennessee at the Voice of College Football. We will be live on Monday at 8 Eastern Time. May talk a little bit more about this game. We'll get into the ETSU matchup a little bit, at least as much as we can with an FCS opponent. But again, we appreciate all of you guys for following us and liking what it is that we do here at the Voice of College Football Network. For Jordan Binkley, I'm Tucker Harlan. We will talk to you guys again on Monday.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.